The rain battered Jack Thompson's delivery truck, a relentless curtain of water blurring the rural Ohio highway. The wipers struggled to keep up, their rhythmic thud the only sound besides the growl of the engine. Jack gripped the wheel, his knuckles pale, his eyes scanning the road through the storm. It was past midnight, and he was behind schedule, the last of his packages rattling in the back. But the weight he carried was heavier than cargo guilt from a night 5 years ago. When he'd left his friend Mike stranded in a storm like this, two rushed to help. Mike didn't make it home. A drunk driver took him out on that same highway. Jack shook off the memory, focusing on the road. He was different now, or so he told himself. Helping people, no matter how small the act, was his way of making amends. The radio crackled, spitting static before dying out, leaving the storm's roar to fill the silence. Lightning flashed, illuminating the empty asphalt stretching into the darkness. Then he saw her off figure on the shoulder, thumb out, drenched to the bone. A young woman, her hair plastered to her face, stood shivering in the downpour. Jack's first instinct was to keep driving. He was late, and picking up hitchhikers wasn't part of the job. But the image of Mike, soaked and pleading, flashed in his mind. He couldn't leave someone else stranded. He pulled over, the truck's tires crunching on wet gravel. The woman hesitated, then hurried to the passenger door, climbing in with a grateful nod. "Thank you," she said, her voice soft but clear despite the water dripping from her clothes. She looked young, maybe early 20s, her pale face framed by dark sodden hair. Her dress was old-fashioned, a long skirt and blouse that seemed out of place, but Jack chalked it up to the dim light. "No problem," he said, cranking the heater. "I'm Jack. Where are you headed?" "Anna," she replied, brushing wet strands from her eyes. "Just up the road a bit. A house off Route 17. I'll show you." Jack nodded, pulling back onto the highway. The rain pounded harder, the truck's headlights barely cutting through the deluge. Anna sat quietly, her hands folded in her lap, water pooling on the seat. He noticed her shivering and offered his jacket, but she shook her head. "I'm fine. Just need to get home." Something about her voice, calm yet distant, set Jack on edge, but he pushed it aside. "Bad night to be out," he said, trying to fill the silence. "You okay? Running from something?" Nay's lips curved slightly, not quite a smile, something like that. Needed to get away. Jack understood running. He'd been running from his guilt for years, throwing himself into work, helping strangers to balance the scales. "I get it," he said. "I've got my own stuff to outrun." She glanced at him, her eyes catching the dashboard light in a way that made them seem too bright. "What kind?" "What kind?" He hesitated, then let it spill. "A friend. Left him in a storm like this. Thought I'd be late for a shift. He didn't make it." Anna's expression softened. "You didn't mean for it to happen." "No," Jack said, his throat tight. "But I should have stopped. I'm trying to make it right now." She nodded, staring out at the rain. "Some things can't be undone. Well, you try." The conversation lapsed, the storm's roar filling the cab. The dashcam blinked, recording silently, a habit Jack kept for safety. Anna hummed a faint tune, an old folk song he vaguely recognized, its melody soothing yet oddly mournful. He glanced at her, noticing her dress again, too pristine for someone caught in a downpour. No mud, no tears. He shook off the thought, blaming the late hour. They passed a mile marker, the sign barely visible. "How far's this house?" Jack asked, checking his GPS. The screen glitched, showing only static. "Not far," Anna said, pointing ahead. "There's a turn coming up, a slope off the main road." Jack frowned. "Don't know any slopes around here." "It's there," she said, her voice calm but insistent. "Trust me." The rain didn't let up, and the road seemed to stretch endlessly, the headlights catching only water and asphalt. Jack's gut churned, a mix of guilt and unease. It was helping her, doing what he couldn't do for Mike, but something felt off. Anna's presence was both comforting and unsettling, like a memory he couldn't place. As they drove, the storm grew wilder, lightning illuminating the empty highway. Jack didn't notice the dashcam flicker again, capturing a fleeting image of Anna's face pale, eyes hollow, her smile gone. The night was just beginning, and the road to redemption was leading somewhere Jack couldn't yet see. The rain lashed against Jack Thompson's delivery truck, the windshield wipers battling to clear the deluge as he drove through the dark Ohio night. Anna, the drenched hitchhiker, sat in the passenger seat, her presence both a comfort and a quiet disturbance. Her old-fashioned dress dripped steadily, pooling water on the floor, yet she seemed unbothered by the cold. Jack kept his eyes on the road, his hands tight on the wheel, trying to shake the unease creeping up his spine. Helping her was his chance to make up for abandoning Mike years ago, but her calm demeanor and vague answers stirred doubts. "So, Anna," Jack said, breaking the silence, "what's the deal? You running from trouble back there?" She stared out the window, her pale face catching the dashboard's dim glow. "Just needed to get away," she said softly. "Sometimes you have to leave things behind." Jack nodded, understanding more than he wanted to admit. "Yeah, I know that feeling. Been running from something myself for a while now." Her head tilted slightly, her eyes meeting his. "Your friend? The one you left?" He flinched, surprised she'd latched onto his earlier confession. "Yeah, Mike. Storm like this one. I didn't stop to help. Thought I'd lose my job. Worst mistake of my life." Anna's expression softened, almost to knowing. "You carry that with you. It's heavy." "It is," Jack admitted, his voice rough. "That's why I stopped for you. Gotta do better." She hummed a faint tune, the same mournful folk song from before, its notes weaving through the storm's roar. The radio crackled, spitting static, before falling silent again. Jack glanced at her, noticing how the water never seemed to stop dripping from her clothes, as if the rain lived in her. "Where's this house of yours?" he asked, checking the GPS. The screen flickered, showing their location but no roads ahead, just a blank map. "Up ahead," Anna said, her voice steady. "I turn off Route 17. I'll show you." They drove in silence for a while, the storm unrelenting. Jack's thoughts drifted to Mike's friend's desperate call for a ride. Jack's rushed excuse the news of the crash the next day. Helping Anna felt like a small atonement, but her quiet presence made his skin prickle. He noticed her hands folded neatly in her lap, her nails too clean for someone caught in a downpour. They pulled into a gas station, its neon sign buzzing faintly. "Need anything?" Jack asked, hoping to stretch his legs and clear his head. Anna shook her head. "I'm okay." "Just stay close." He stepped out, the rain soaking him instantly. Inside the station, the clerk barely looked up, engrossed in a magazine. Jack grabbed a coffee, glancing at the truck through the window. Anna sat motionless, avoiding the light from the station's floodlights. He squinted, catching her reflection in the glass. Dorit was faint, almost translucent, her face not quite matching the girl in the truck. He blinked, and it was normal again. Back in the cab, he handed her a bottled water. "Figured you might be thirsty." She smiled faintly, but didn't take it. "Not thirsty, just need to get home." The road stretched on, the storm growing wilder. The dashcam blinked, its green light erratic, and Jack swore he saw a flicker on the tiny screen of face. Not Anna's, but gone too fast to be sure. His heart quickened, but he pushed it aside, focusing on her directions. "Tell me about yourself," he said, needing to fill the silence. "You from around here?" Anna's eyes stayed on the road. "Born nearby. Things went wrong, so I left. Been trying to get back ever since." Her words were vague, but they hit Jack hard, echoing his own guilt. "Sounds like you've been through a lot." "More than you know," she said, her voice barely audible over the rain. The radio burst into static again, then played a snatch of her hummed tune before cutting out. Jack's unease grew, his hands tightening on the wheel. The highway felt endless, the mile markers blurring in the downpour. Anna's presence was both calming and unsettling, like a memory he couldn't place. "Turn's coming up," she said suddenly, pointing to the left. "It's a slope, not far now." Jack frowned, glancing at the GPS, still glitching. "A slope that's not on the map. It's there," Anna insisted, her voice firm but gentle. "Trust me." The rain hammered harder, lightning illuminating the empty road. Jack's gut churned helping Anna was his redemption, but the path ahead felt wrong. Her humming resumed, the melody weaving through the storm, and for a moment he thought he heard Mike's voice in it, whispering his name. The truck rolled on, the turn approaching, and Jack couldn't shake the feeling that Anna's home was in T, a place he'd find on any map. The night was closing in, and the road to redemption was leading somewhere darker than he'd imagined. The storm raged on, a relentless assault of rain and wind battering Jack Thompson's delivery truck as it rumbled along the rural Ohio highway. Anna, the mysterious hitchhiker, sat in the passenger seat, her drenched dress still dripping. Her presence both a beacon of redemption and a gnawing unease for Jack. His confession about abandoning his friend Mike had forged a fragile bond with her. But her vague responses and the eerie hum of her folk song kept his nerves on edge. The GPS flickered uselessly. It screened a mess of static, and the road ahead seemed to stretch into an endless void. Jack's hands gripped the wheel, his eyes straining through the deluge. "This turn you mentioned," he said, glancing at Anna. "You sure it's up here? My map's not showing anything." Anna's pale face turned toward him, her eyes catching the dashboard light in a way that made them seem too deep to knowing. "It's there," she said, her voice calm but insistent. "A slope off the highway. It'll take us to my house." Jack frowned, unease curling in his gut. He'd driven this route for years, knew every turn and back road, but a slope? That wasn't familiar. Still, the need to help her, to make up for Mike, pushed him forward. "All right. Just tell me when." They drove in silence, the rain a deafening roar. Anna's humming resumed, the melody weaving through the storm, its notes tugging at a memory Jack couldn't place. The dashcam blinked erratically, its green light stuttering. He glanced at it, catching a flicker of something a shadow in the seat where Anna sat, but not quite her. He blinked, and it was gone, his heart thudding. "Said you were running from something," Jack ventured, needing to break the tension. "What happened? You don't have to tell me, but I get wanting to leave things behind." Anna's lips curved slightly, not quite a smile. "I was left behind too," she said softly. "A long time ago. Someone promised to help, but they drove away. I've been trying to get home ever since." Her words hit Jack like a punch, mirroring his guilt over Mike. "That's rough," he said, his throat tight. "I'm not leaving you, Anna. I'll get you home." She nodded, but her gaze drifted to the window, her reflection faint in the glass. "You're kind. Not everyone is." Lightning cracked, illuminating the road. "Out!" And Jack swore he saw a figure in the rearview mirror, Mike, soaked and staring, his eyes accusing. He gasped, swerving slightly, but when he looked again, it was just the empty back seat. His hands shook, sweat mixing with the rain on his face. "There," Anna said suddenly, pointing to a barely visible dirt track branching off the highway, a steep slope descending into darkness, unmarked and unlit. "That's it." Jack slowed the truck, peering at the path. "That's no road. It's barely a trail." "You sure?" "Trust me," Anna said, her voice colder now, her dripping dress filling the cab with a damp chill. Against his better judgment, Jack turned onto the slope, the truck's tires slipping on the muddy incline. The storm seemed to intensify, wind howling like a living thing. The path twisted through dense trees, the headlights barely cutting through the rain. Anna's presence grew heavier, the air around her icy, despite the heater's blast. "You said you were left behind," Jack said, his voice unsteady. "Who left you? What happened?" Anna's eyes met his, and for a moment, they seemed to glow. "A driver, like you. Promised a ride, then changed his mind. Left me in the rain." "I didn't make it." Jack's stomach dropped. "Didn't make it." "You mean keep driving?" she interrupted, pointing ahead. "We're close." The truck lurched, the slope growing steeper, mud threatening to bog them down. Jack's mind raced her words, her outdated clothes, the endless dripping. The visions of Mike in the mirror, the glitching GPS had all pointed to something impossible. But he couldn't turn back now. Helping Anna was his chance to right his wrong. The dash cam flickered again, and Jack caught a glimpse of the screen at his face. But wrong. Her skin pale as bone, eyes hollow. He gripped the wheel harder, fear creeping into his resolve. The slope leveled out, leading to a clearing, but the rain made it impossible to see what lay ahead. "Almost there," Anna whispered, her voice barely audible over the storm. "You're doing what he didn't." Jack's heart pounded, his sympathy for her warring with a growing terror. The truck rolled forward, the path narrowing, and he couldn't shake the feeling that this slope was in just leading to a house. It was leading him somewhere far darker, a place where redemption might come at a cost he wasn't ready to pay. The delivery truck lurched along the muddy slope, its tires slipping as the storm's fury battered the windshield. Jack Thompson gripped the steering wheel, his knuckles white, his heart pounding from Anna's cryptic words. I didn't make it. The hitchhiker sat beside him, her drenched dress dripping endlessly, filling the cab with a damp chill that no heater could dispel. Her presence was both a lifeline to Jack's redemption and a growing terror. Her story of being abandoned mirroring his guilt over leaving his friend Mike to die in a storm 5 years ago. The slope descended into a dark clearing, the trees closing in like silent sentinels. Jack's GPS was useless, its screen frozen in static. Out. And the dashcam flickered erratically, its green light pulsing like a heartbeat. This place doesn't feel right, Jack said, his voice tight. You sure this is the way to your house? Anna's pale face turned toward him, her eyes catching the dashboard's glow, unnaturally bright. It's close, she said, her voice soft but insistent. Keep going. Jack hesitated, the truck idling. Her story gnawed at him, left behind by a driver, just like Mike. He wanted to help her, to make amends for his past. But the air felt heavy, the rain a relentless roar. Anna, what happened to you? You said you didn't make it. What does that mean? She didn't answer, her gaze fixed ahead. Then the dashcam screen flashed, and Jack's breath caught. For a split second, it showed a wrecked car on this very slope. Crumpled against a tree, and Anna's face paled, lifeless stared back from the wreckage. The image vanished, replaced by the live feed of the cab, but Jack's hands shook. Did you see that? He asked, his voice rising. Anna's expression didn't change. You're almost there. Don't stop now. The truck rolled forward, the slope growing treacherous, mud sucking at the tires. Jack's mind raced her outdated dress, the endless dripping, the glitching dashcam. It was impossible, but the pieces were falling into place. Anna, he said, his voice trembling. Are you dead? She turned to him, her smile faint and sad. You wanted to help someone? You're helping me? Before he could respond, the rain turned strange streaks. On the windshield looked like blood, smearing red before washing clear. A whisper filled the cab, Mike's voice accusing. You left me, Jack. Jack swerved, nearly sliding off the path, his heart hammering. Stop it, he shouted, unsure if he was yelling at Anna or the voices. The truck skidded to a halt, and he turned to her. What's happening? What are you? Anna's eyes softened, but her voice was cold. I needed a ride, like you needed forgiveness. Jack's chest tightened. He wanted to bolt, to turn back, but the slope felt like a trap, the storm a wall closing them in. He took a deep breath, his need to atone overriding his fear. I'm getting you home, he said, more to himself than her. But you need to tell me the truth, she nodded, her dripping hair unmoving. I was left here years ago. Driver promised help, then drove away. The storm took me. Now I guide others. The words chilled him, but her vulnerability stirred his sympathy. He saw Mike and her abandoned, lost. I'm not that driver, he said. I won't leave you. They drove on, the slope leveling into a clearing where a dilapidated house loomed, its windows dark, roof caving in. Thos, gain, showing the same wreck, Anna's face clearer now, her eyes empty. Jack's stomach churned, but he focused on the road, on his promise. The rain eased for a moment, and Jack stopped the truck, needing a break from the visions. He turned to Anna, his voice low. I left Mike because I was selfish, scared of losing my job. I've hated myself ever since. Helping you, it's my way of fixing that. Anna's gaze was steady. Can't fix the past, but you can carry it differently. Her words hit hard, and for a moment, the cab felt almost peaceful. The storm, a distant hum. Jack shared more Mike's laugh, their late-night talks, the guilt that kept him awake. Anna listened, her presence oddly comforting despite the growing dread. But as they neared the house, the dashcam flickered again, showing Anna's wrecked car, her lifeless body slumped inside. The image lingered, and Jack's fear surged. That's you, he whispered. You're not alive, are you? Anna didn't answer, her form flickering like a bad signal. The truck rolled closer to the house, and Jack's resolve wavered. He was helping her, but at what cost? The rain roared back, the slope seeming to shift beneath them, and the whispers grew louder. Mike's voice. Anna's hum blending into a warning Jack couldn't yet understand. The dilapidated house loomed at the end of the muddy slope, its sagging roof and shattered windows barely visible through the torrential rain hammering Jack Thompson's delivery truck. The storm's roar mingled with the whispers of his past Mike's accusing voice, Anna's mournful hump filling the cab with a suffocating dread. Anna, the hitchhiker, sat beside him, her drenched dress dripping endlessly, her pale face flickering in the dashboard's dim light. The dashcam's flashes had revealed the truth. Anna was dead, a victim of a crash on this very slope, abandoned by a driver years ago. Jack's heart pounded, his need to redeem himself by helping her warring with the terror gripping his chest. "This is it," Anna said, her voice soft but heavy, pointing to the house. "My home." Jack's hands trembled on the wheel, the truck idling in the clearing. The dashcam flickered again, showing the wrecked car, Anna's lifeless body slumped inside, her eyes hollow. He swallowed hard, his voice barely steady. "You're a ghost, aren't you? You died here." Anna's gaze met his, her expression a mix of sorrow and resolve. "You wanted to make things right, you brought me home." He shook his head, fear clawing at him. "I wanted to help someone alive. Not this." "You helped me," she said, her voice colder now like the rain outside. "But you need to see." The truck's headlights caught the house's decayed porch, and Jack's stomach churned. The slope, the wreck, her endless dripping it, all pointed to a truth he couldn't deny. Yet his guilt over Mike, his friend left to die in a storm, anchored him. "What do you want from me?" he asked, his voice breaking. Anna didn't answer, her form flickering like a bad signal. "Go inside," she said, pointing to the house. "You'll understand." Jack hesitated, the rain pounding the truck, the dashcam flashing with images of the crash. He saw Mike's face now, accusing, blending with Anna's. The whispers grew louder, a cacophony of guilt and regret. He couldn't turn back not after promising to help. He grabbed a flashlight from the glove box, his hands shaking. "Stay here," he told her, though the words felt hollow. Stepping into the storm, the rain soaked him instantly, the cold biting his skin. The house's door hung ajar, creaking in the wind. Inside, the air was musty, thick with mildew and decay. The flashlight beams swept over broken furniture, cobwebs, and a faded photograph on the floor, a young woman, Anna, smiling in her old-fashioned dress. Jack's breath caught. It was her unmistakable. The floorboards groaned as he moved deeper, finding a newspaper clipping pinned to a wall. "Local woman killed in crash, 1995, it read. Anna Marie Carter, 22, abandoned by driver on Route 17 slope, perished in storm. The article detailed her death left alone after a driver refused to take her further, her car sliding off the muddy slope into a tree. Jack's knees buckled. "You were left, just like Mike," he whispered, his guilt surging. The whispers intensified, Mike's voice now screaming, "You left me." The walls seemed to pulse, the air heavy with an unseen presence. Back in the truck, Anna was gone. Jack froze, his flashlight sweeping the cab. The passenger seat was empty, save for a wet skirt, neatly folded, still damp. Panic surged through him, his heart racing. "Anna!" he shouted, his voice lost in the storm. He stumbled back to the house, the rain turning to blood in his vision, washing clear in an instant. The dashcam left running, flickered on the dashboard screen, showing Anna's wrecked car, then Jack's truck, as if predicting a crash. He grabbed it, hands shaking, and saw another flash himself slumped over the wheel, bloodied. "No," he gasped, backing away. The whispers became a roar, Anna's voice joining Mike's. "You can't outrun it." He ran to the truck, slamming the door, his breath ragged. The house loomed in the headlights, its windows like eyes watching him. Anna's words echoed, "You brought me home, but at what cost?" His redemption felt like a trap, the slope a graveyard for mistakes. Jack's mind raced Anna's death, Mike's death, his own guilt tying them together. He wanted to save her, to make amends, but the visions were relentless. The truck's engine sputtered, as if the storm itself was fighting him. He saw Anna again, standing in the rain, her form flickering, her eyes pleading. "You're almost done," she whispered, her voice inside his head. "But you need to listen." The storm raged on, the slope a slick death trap. And Jack realized helping Anna wasn't just about getting her home, it was about facing the consequences of his past. The whispers grew louder, the dashcam flashing warnings, and Jack knew the night wasn't over. Anna's soul was restless, and his redemption hung on a choice he wasn't ready to make. The storm howled around Jack Thompson's delivery truck parked in the muddy clearing before the dilapidated house on the unmapped slope. The rain pounded the windshield, a relentless roar that drowned out the whispers of his guilt, Mike's accusing voice, Anna's mournful hum. The wet skirt on the passenger seat, all that remained of the hitchhiker, confirmed the impossible. Anna was a ghost, a victim abandoned on this slope years ago. Her death mirroring Jack's failure to save his friend Mike, the dashcam's flickering images of Rexana's, and now his own scent shivers down his spine. His need to redeem himself had led him here, but the cost was becoming clear. Jack's hands trembled as he gripped the steering wheel, the house looming in the headlights like a tomb. Yes. The newspaper clipping he'd found inside Donna Marie Carter. Yes. Killed in a 1995 crash after being left by a driver burned in his memory. Her words, "You brought me home," echoed, but the dashcam's vision of his own bloodied body warned of danger. He wanted to drive away, to escape the slope's grip, but Anna's plea to listen held him in place. The truck's engine sputtered, the storm's ferocity shaking the cab. Jack's breath hitched as Anna reappeared, not in the seat but outside, standing in the rain. Her pale form flickering like a broken film reel, her eyes hollow yet pleading, locked onto his. "You saved me," she said, her voice cutting through the storm. "But you're not safe." Jack's heart raced. "What do you mean?" "I got you home." She stepped closer, rain passing through her. "I was left here, like your friend. My soul couldn't rest, gave me peace. But the road takes its price." He shook his head, panic rising. "Price? I'm trying to make things right." Anna's face softened, almost human. "You will. But listen, don't drive tonight. Storm wants you, like it took me." The dashcam flashed again, showing Jack's truck careening off the slope, crashing into the same tree from Anna's wreck. He gasped, the vision so vivid he felt the impact in his bones. Mike's voice surged through the whispers. "You left me, Jack." But Anna's voice overpowered it, calm and urgent. "Stay here. Wait out the night." Jack's mind reeled. It helped Anna, brought her to this house, but the slope felt alive, its mud and rain a trap. His guilt over Mike had driven him to save her, but now her warning suggested his own life hung in the balance. He looked at the house, its dark windows staring back, and made a choice. "I'll stay," he said, his voice shaking. "But what happens to you?" Anna's form flickered, her smile faint. "I'm home now. Thank you." She faded, the rain swallowing her silhouette. The whispers quieted, the dashcam screen going dark. Jack turned off the engine, the truck falling silent as the storm raged on. He sat there, heart pounding, the wet skirt beside him a reminder of what he'd done and what he'd avoided. Hours passed, the storm unrelenting. Jack stayed in the truck, the house a silent sentinel. He thought of Mike, of the night he'd driven away, and of Anna left to die on this slope. Helping her hadn't erased his guilt, but it had shifted it, made it bearable. He'd saved her soul, given her peace, and her warning had saved him. As dawn broke, the rain eased, the sky lightening to a bruised gray. Jack started the truck, the engine catching smoothly. The slope was still treacherous, but he drove carefully, avoiding the tree from the dashcam's vision. The highway stretched ahead, familiar now, the GPS flickering back to life. He glanced at the passenger's seat. The skirt was gone as if it had never been there. Relief washed over him, but as he merged onto Route 17, faint hum lingered in the air. Anna's folk song, soft and mournful. He checked the rearview mirror, half expecting to see her, but it was empty. Jack drove on, the storm behind him, his guilt lighter, but not gone. He'd made amends, saved a soul, and survived the night. But the road held memories, and Anna's whisper echoed in his mind, a reminder that some ghosts never fully leave. The highway stretched into the morning, and Jack wondered if redemption was a destination or a journey he'd never complete.